A good morning and welcome to the dialogue. My name is Simapolo. It's a good Saturday morning. Welcome from that long week. It is time we sit to look at news that made the headlines and put into context matters of national importance. A lot happened within the week, but we will wind them up in just 2 hours. And already guests are seated in the studios. My name is Simapolo. I've been joined by Charity Ahimbisibwe Kalebo. She is the coordinator, Citizens Coalition for Electoral Democracy in Uganda, in short known as CEDU. Welcome to the program, Charity.
Thank you very much, Apollo. A very good morning to every Ugandan watching us out there.
Good. Charity, you're most welcome. And we have the president of the Social Democratic Party, Honorable Michael Mamike. Welcome to the program.
The one and only. Good morning, viewers. I'm very happy to be here. I'm not only the president of the Social Democratic Party, I'm also the Secretary General of the new front, the Red Card Front.
The Red Card Front. He is in the House. He is also the former Member of Parliament for Machingi East. Honorable Mike Mabike, welcome to the program once again.
Thank you very much.
Kenneth Nsubuga Sebagayunga is a lawyer, and he subscribes to the National Resistance Movement. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, viewers. Good morning, everyone, and the SALT family. Happy to be here.
You're happy to be here. Kenneth contested in the Yala elections. Things didn't go well, but also he had a shot at Mukono North constituency once or twice.
Once in 2016, so very many years ago.
You did not go through?
Yes, that time, yes.
So welcome, gentlemen and the lady in the studios. The program is the dialogue. We have many issues to look at. In the week, Uganda registered a record high in the uptake of COVID-19 vaccine jabs. We registered more than 660,000 in just this month of October. It's a positive. We also received an announcement from the Minister of Education and Sports that there will be a change in the policy. This time round, there is an extension in the teachers' training. It used to be 3 years for teachers to train at that higher level, but now it will be 4 years, and you will be required to have at least a degree to be a registered teacher at that higher level. But many other issues happened. We saw news coming in from Kenya that indicated that Kenya lifted the curfew, and it's another issue now in the public discourse in Uganda. People asking why actually we still have curfew in Uganda. And also we saw that court decision in Mityana, actually in Mugende High Court, where the Honorable Minister Judith Nabakova petitioned the court, and court nullified the election of Honorable Joyce Bagala. A quick comment. Charity, you are one who is well covered with issues of elections. That court decision has actually triggered discussions all around. Why and why?
Thank you very much, Apollo. This court decision is not a surprise that it is hitting the charts in Uganda, because as soon as Bagala was announced the MP for Mityana, the president said, Mityana, you don't even have respect for all the work that Madam Nabakova has done for you. How on earth did you drop Nabakova and take up Bagala? But of course the electorate is a very interesting episode of people. The electorate are people who are excited by what they hear and who has been with them on the ground. Bagala had not stood for the first time. This was her third time of standing. And every time she lost, she went back to the constituency and started 5 years before the next election. 2 elections, she lost them. But the third election, which was this election, she had a landslide. And I want to assure that if they go back, it's going to be worse than the time she won the other time. Because in a by-election, it is just one place.
Yeah.
All eyes are on that place. All media is on that place. The local people themselves co-join with all other forces to support just this one candidate. So there is a lot of drumming up and there is a lot of tension. Already you can see nationally, people are sympathizing with Joyce. Joyce is an astute woman. I know her from NBS.
Yeah. When
she edited news and managed news desk, and she tried her best to remain objective as a journalist and also as a person in management, because you know that as a news editor you're a manager.
Yeah.
So I don't think she is a low-trade girl who just beat the minister. No, she's a girl who focused on the ballot, went, worked for it, and returned. Now the ruling is suspect. It is suspect on two grounds. One, that the judge sent the ruling via techno, he sent it online. He wasn't there himself. Two, when there was a cross-examining of the minister.
Why should be that susceptible to anything? Because that is now
usually
electronic transmission of judgments and
is okay, is acceptable.
Okay and acceptable.
But you see, in public interest litigation cases, what normally happens is the judge will come and sit in the case because it has public interest in it. I'll give you the example of Tojikwatako, Article 102B. The judges had to sit and each of them explain the grounds under which they were making the judgments that they were making. Because the public was interested in knowing, why are we taking out this safety net from the Constitution? So every time it is a public interest litigation case, it's not a case that you ordinarily handle like a petty thief who stole somebody's money somewhere. But I want to give you the second ground. The second ground was the minister. When she was being cross-examined during the case, they asked her to produce evidence of bribery. Now, to prove bribery is difficult. It is hard to prove bribery except if you saw it happening. You must have the pictures, you must have the time, the place, the money. To prove bribery is one of the difficult things. That's why we have had bribery continuing to be. The minister responded thus. She said, I don't have proof, but my agents told me that Bagala bribed. Now, if this is the evidence...
But did she really say that?
But that is what we saw in the press. Of course, I wasn't in court. I wish I was, but I wasn't in court for that particular case. But that is what we read in the press. She told that to the judge during the cross-examination. Now, if she said that, then how, if you read the case totally, which I have, the resultant way he situates his case, he makes a case for why he's judging the way he is, you're not convinced that Bagala actually
stole the election.
Yes, you're not convinced.
Well, that is your opinion. And Honorable Mike, you have been into these elections and you know what actually transpires behind the scenes. Bagala is being may lose her seat after this ruling that she bribed voters and stole the election.
No, I wouldn't like to focus just on Bagala. I just want to look at elections in general. We have lost confidence in elections organized under the NRIM. Actually, for us, our position is that the elections under the NRM are just a skewed tool to legitimize a dictatorship. Anything can happen. We can no longer continue this debate of elections until we get a non-partisan electoral commission. As we talk now, there is complete state capture. All the institutions of government are under capture. The independence of parliament, the independence of judiciary, the independence of the electoral commission, and these are institutions which are supposed to be actually independent. They're supposed to stand on their own. They're supposed to take decisions without interference. Has been compromised. So I cannot even sit here and debate about an election, because I know that if there's a by-election anywhere in Uganda, the NRM is going to rig it. They are going to win it.
But they did rig it in the
yes, that was general. One,
even Chandondo East, they didn't rig it.
You know for sure that you know for sure that these fellows who pass, who actually succeed in elections, just do so accidentally. Most of them do so accidentally. They are not meant to be. NRM just fails. They do the rigging and they just fail. Now, we cannot sit here and debate about Bagala, about. We can already see that in Kampala alone, there are so many petitions.
Yeah.
You can see that whoever petitioned in Kampala lost. Whoever petitioned against an MP in Wakiso lost. These guys sat and said, well, we don't want any by-election in Kampala. We don't want any by-election in Wakiso. That's the first principle. It meant that the judges had to play
to the gallery.
To the gallery.
Who sat?
No, our friends, the Sebayungas. His friends, you are introducing Sebayunga as sympathetic, but actually he is a member. He's an NRM lawyer. He's an NRM lawyer. Now, they don't want an election in Kampala. They don't want an election in Wakiso. Any petition in actually a by-election in Wakiso, and it has happened. You can see. Now you can see.
But that's
you can also see a trend.
That's a very big statement. You're saying all the petitions, all the petitions that were filed in Kampala and Wakiso were based. I mean, the judgments were not based,
because yes, these were cadre judges. Most of these fellows who are dishing out these unfortunate court decisions are cadre judges. The judiciary has been completely taken over by what we call cadre judges, who receive instructions from elsewhere. This is the point I'm trying to make. You can see that the people who have lost elections are both Nope. There is now Wagala. There is another lady in Bukoma Simbi.
Yeah.
There's now this other
Dr. Ndiwala.
FDC gentleman in Soroti, and one other man. This one of Padir of Oto's constituency.
Very few.
And all of them opposition. No NRM.
The one of Voto is NRM.
No.
Komakech
is independent.
NRM
is independent. NRM leaning, but independent. So, we don't actually, for us, we think now elections are subversive. And we think that this country cannot proceed along that path. We, in the front, are calling for a fundamental reset. We have had years of electioneering. We know that for sure Museveni can never organize a free and fair election. So until you address the issue of independence of the electoral commission, until you address who appoints this commission, until you remove the military from the electoral process, until you remove security from the electoral process, then you can talk about elections. But election in Uganda, Kaguna Museveni went to the bush, protesting an election, claiming that the 1980 election was rigged, against the DP, that there was military interference, that the commission was not independent, that the military commission interfered with the final results, and that those are the reasons that took him to the bush. That there was a lot of security interference, there was the military intimidating, there was violence, there were killings. 35 years down the road, we still see the things that took Yoweri Kaguta Museveni to the bush. The very thing that took him to the bush, the very reason that took him 35 years down the road, it is very unfortunate in Uganda that we have failed to organize credible, free and fair elections. So I don't even want to talk about Bagala. I don't want to talk about any by-election. It's a waste of time. Elections in Uganda are just now subversive.
I think that is conclusive. It's a waste of time. That is your word.
Yes, please.
From Honorable Mabike's submission.
Actually, that means now my time will be double because I have to answer.
No.
To respond to her and respond to her.
You are the perpetrator.
I think my time will be double. So to be fair, I'll start with her comments.
Yeah, but we are commenting on
the judgment. Okay, now first, I've been reading several platforms where I see NUP members bashing the judiciary. The judiciary is no way. Yeah, this ruling is what? Like she has even hinted that the ruling is suspect. Now, as Ugandans, we need to refrain from that culture, because the judiciary is good if it decides for NUP, then it is bad if it decides against NUP. NUP as a political party is a creature of the judiciary. Its president Kyagulanyi Robert came to parliament as a result of the judiciary, because it is the judiciary that ordered a by-election in Kyadondo. If the judiciary had not ordered a by-election, Kantinti would run his term and finish. So Honorable Kyagulanyi is a byproduct of the judiciary. When NUP was registered as a political party from its founders, the Museveni, it is the judiciary, Justice Sekana, who stood firm and said, let the party exist. So NUP is a creature of the judiciary. So when I see NUP members saying the judiciary is bad and what, me, who is in the legal fraternity, I really take issue with that too. They have, Honorable Mbika tried to bring it out, only that he brought it out sarcastically. NUP has won numerous petitions in this cycle. There was a petition against Senyonyi. Yeah, he won it. There was a petition against the gentleman who won Sempija in Masaka. NUP won it. There was a petition against the gentleman who won Honorable Muyingo. Oh. NUP in Bamunanika. NUP won it. In Mukono, the opposition guy Kayondo won his election petition. Everywhere, NUP has been winning these election petitions. All of them were being dismissed. Only that Honorable Mbika wanted to put a political connotation on it, which is not there.
Yeah, even in Kampala Central.
Segirinya won his petition. The petition was dismissed. So what I'm trying to say, the point I'm trying to make, we should not say the judiciary is good if it decides for NUP, then it is bad if it decides against NUP. That is the first. That's unfair. Two, the judge did not sit to deliver the ruling. It was online because of COVID. These are the deadlines of the Chief Justice. Yeah. It doesn't require a judge to come and sit and people come and congregate in the courtroom to spread COVID, because it's just a ruling. It can be read. Okay. Three, Bagala is so popular. Nabakoba, the Honorable Minister, will lose again. I don't think so. You know, politics is dynamic. I know people who win by-elections and cannot win a general election. For example, Honorable Muiru, I think in Jinja has never won in a general election. He has always been a byproduct of a by-election, though he has been denied one this time. I know Honorable Brenda now managed Nabukenya managed to win a general election, but she has been struggling in general elections, but always coming and winning a by-election. The dynamics in Mitiana, I think, have now changed. The political wave that swept the Buganda region in the 2021 elections, I think the bubble has burst. Very many people expected miracles and heaven on earth from NUP and what they were promising. The very few months they have been in office as MPs, people have seen it is the same dance and song like the Mabikes who were there before. So once this by-election is... we dance. It's a song and dance. I'm going to come to his front and what. It's the same song and dance. We shall come to that. So once we go back to Mitiana and we go back to the drawing board, I want to assure you NRM is going to win that seat. Like we did in Hoima. Remember I came here and told you we were going to win Hoima, and you were saying we can't. We shall win that one. So judiciary. So my point is the judiciary needs to be safeguarded, because the judiciary is for us. If I have a case, you have a case, you have a case, we go before these same judges. So bashing them in public and what does not generate confidence in the Ugandans. Let me come to what my brother said. NRM, election is blah blah blah. You see, that is being hypocritical. Honorable Mabike was in his 20s and he became an MP under the NRM government. This gentleman here was not an MP in Obote's government. What do you mean to say? But he's saying that the NRM cannot organize a free and fair election. So I'm asking, he became an MP under the same NRM government, and he won an election. So the Electoral Commission is competent. If it let me finish. The Electoral Commission is competent if it organizes an election and Honorable Mabike wins. Then it is incompetent if it organizes an election and Honorable Mabike loses. In the just concluded elections, no won in Central Buganda here. They swept most of the constituencies. Honorable Kyagulanyi, the presidential candidate then, was winning Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the incumbent and the president, in most of the districts in Buganda here. And the Electoral Commission was announcing the results as people were casting the votes. So now when you say they cannot organize a free and fair election, if that was the case, then we wouldn't have had...
His intention was not to win in Ono Central region. He wanted to win presidency.
Yes, but you know, if you got votes in Kampala, and you did not get votes in Rukungiri, you want the Electoral Commission to go to Rukungiri and announce votes you never got. So the Electoral Commission announced votes that Honorable Kyagulanyi and Inup got in Kampala, in Mukono, in Wakiso. And it announced votes Museveni got in Eastern, in Western, in Northern, because Uganda does not stop in Kampala. That's why I always tell people that Uganda does not stop in Kampala. Okay. If Nupu wins in Kampala, it doesn't mean they have won Uganda. So overall, the Museveni won. So we have the ready card. It is time for them to go.
We'll talk to
no, yeah.
that. We'll come to that. You'll come to that in a second.
Lost elections and NRM state capture. Okay, let me finish with that.
But that will come in the other topic.
Okay.
State capture is there. Charity, wind up on this issue of by-elections and what we should expect now.
I think that because for me I sit in a ground of objectivity, it is always important to remember three facets of democracy. One is integrity. Two is openness of institutions to be trusted by the public. And three is fairness. When we talk of fairness, what do we mean? Can the court of public opinion, which people have referred to, politicians refer to it, naturalists refer to it, when you look at it, how fair is the process? And when we talk about issues of integrity, we go back to comparing the issues as they have happened over a period of time. Of course, it's going to be a contest of giants versus the NRM. And there's going to be a lot of casualty. But I think that with good organizing, that shouldn't be. And I think the Honorable Mike Mabike has already spotlighted the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission, the issues around the Electoral Commission have pre-existed with us since 2001. And I think there was an electoral reform that had been suggested towards the Electoral Commission. And the national dialogue process was all geared towards seeing if we could have an all-inclusive electoral commission that is selected by the public through the Judiciary Service Commission. Yeah. So that is what the public wanted in that reform. That the same way judges, the names are sent to the president for approval, they come from the Judicial Service Commission. So the public wanted to have a say in the names that were being sent to the president, other than the president simply hand-picking. So if he has... But
sending the names to Parliament?
Yes, of course the rest of the processes stay. But they wanted to be included in the process of selecting electoral commissioners, because they say they have a direct impetus on what happens in an election. And for them as the public to trust what comes out, they should have a say on who sits in this chair. And I think that because those issues were never resolved, those are many years, 2001, 2011, come 2016, 2021, those are many years. We're talking more than 25 years or so of the same issue coming up every time an election ends. I think it is it's time the issue is considered. I will not go into the say of elections are useless and the waste of time. Yes, they have issues. I've not run away from the fact that they have issues, and they've had glaring ills and setbacks and issues from the time we started to conduct them in 1996. However, if we say no election, then what next? Because the Constitution, if you read the preamble, it starts by saying that, recalling our bloody history, that we had a lot of bloodshed.
Of tyranny.
You know, that is where we are coming from. We have decided this day to constitute this document that it will guide us as a country.
Okay.
So if we are a people who decided that we're going to live by constitutionalism, the elections have a place in that constitution.
All right. Finally, there is that serious allegation that Honorable Mike Mavike made, that probably it's an allegation that petition is in Kampala, people sat somewhere and decided that this should be here, this should be here, it should be decided this way. And I think it touches the nerve of your core mandators, people who are in electoral democracy. Just a comment on that.
Now, of course, the Honorable Mike Mavike is a politician. I am not a politician.
It's a political statement.
Yes, so he's making a political statement. There are times when the president comes and makes political statements, and I can clearly see that this which he has made is a political statement. But there are times when he comes and he says fact, which is not a political statement. Now, the Honorable Mike Mavike in this instance made a political statement. Where was the meeting?
Yeah.
Can we prove that the meeting happened, that the judges sat? If we can't prove it, then it remains a political statement.
Honorable Mike Mavike,
if it was agreed somewhere, did it come out? Did we know it? But one thing we cannot run away from is probably what I can pick from him is that everything that happens in Uganda, unfortunately, and it has cost us in terms of development and in terms of growth as a nation, has been highly politicized.
Okay.
Kenneth is also politicizing a lot of the things I am saying as a technocrat. And yet I dare say to him, I die to see a good electoral process. I die to see a good, fair, open process that can produce candidates. I don't care whether you're NRM who are coming through. I don't care whether you're FDC or your people power that are coming. But can the process leave the quality of time?
Honorable Mike Mavike, you may not respond to that one. I wanted to, because yeah, I think we should look at this issue of curfew. Kenya lifted curfew. We have talked about curfew, against curfew, the arbitrary way of how these directives are enforced and everything. But Honorable Mike, is curfew still really relevant at this time when we see infection still very low? I thought we should make a comment on it.
Okay, but next
you go back.
Next time you should invite me with
yeah, next time.
Over the performance of civil society.
Okay.
They have become complacent.
Okay.
That's why you are here. Now, you know, these are the constitution, you know now. We have serious issues. The constitution is there, but Museveni has flouted it. How many times we had the age limit, we had the term limits. Are they still in that constitution?
In Kenya, in Kenya, the infection is
I want you to invite me now. I want you to invite me again. Now, with to really discuss about their role now, because their role is also now becoming subversive.
Okay. From a point of view,
I will leave it at that. We shall debate next time. Now on the issue of curfew, we have I think the nation mismanaged the COVID crisis. Initially, there was a lot of mismanagement. They began during the first wave. The ministry technical team told us the crisis and pandemic was under control. But by the time we were hit by the second wave, that is when the entire system was exposed as having been ill-prepared, having done nothing, and we had a lot of loss of life. That's how we came into a second lockdown. Now, as to the imposition of curfew, because the situation has gone on improving, by the way, many countries have moved out. They have lifted curfew. Many countries have had their schools opened. Actually, Uganda is the only country which has its school locked in the whole world. In the entire whole world, Uganda is the only country that still has its schools closed and with the curfew. But of course, like she would say, it's a political decision. Mr. Museveni and his team know why they imposed curfew. It is not because of COVID, rising number of COVID, but there is something. There is an element they are trying to.
What is that something?
They are trying to defend. I wouldn't want to discuss it now, but I'm sure he knows, and President Museveni knows why they still keep curfew. Now, the most unfortunate aspect of the curfew is that now curfew has become a way to pay policemen.
Really?
When you drive along Kampala, those of us who travel in the night, in the front of every police station, be it CPS, be it Katwe, be it Natete, be it anywhere, there's a roadblock. A roadblock at about 7:30, where policemen are actually not asking why you are late, where you are going, where you are coming from, but they are asking for chai. They are collecting money. I think what's happening in Uganda was only last seen during Obote days, where policemen used to man roadblocks just to collect money and pick property and actually harass. So curfew, as we speak now, is no longer necessary. Curfew is actually exposing the rot in the Uganda police, and I hope the powers that we are watching, and I hope the powers that we can actually investigate this. You are having a very, very, very bad image of policemen who are manning roadblocks only to pick money from motorists, nothing else. So that Kenya has lifted curfew, and many more countries actually do not have curfew. We don't see any more sense in this, and we think that very quickly government should move to remove curfew, to remove these roadblocks, and actually also reopen schools.
All right, Kenneth. The essence of curfew was to control the spread of COVID-19.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I may want to agree with my brother here. Curfew was not to control the spread of COVID. Curfew was basically a security issue.
Really?
Yes.
Basically?
Listen, you have people in lockdown. People are not working. People are at home. Ordinarily, that would create a situation where you have needy people. I'm not working, I have a family, I need to feed. So you create needy people. Now, the COVID situation creating a needy population would mean that crime would increase. And it's normal that crime follows darkness. So the idea of curfew is everybody stay home. Past this hour, it is only security that is allowed to operate, maybe even essential services. That was the idea. My personal thinking as Kenneth is that it has outlived its usefulness now. But I want to assure Ugandans that government is in control. Uganda is not ruled by pirates. Uganda has a government that is legitimate, that has all of these concerns. I know the president is knowledgeable of what happens in this country.
He's not.
You see,
what's happening on the ground?
You see, that is the fallacy many of these opposition people have. When you say Museveni is knowledgeable, he knows they say he's not, but he has been in power for 36 years or so. So when you say so what I'm trying to say,
policemen extorting under the cover of curfew.
Packaging a message is very important. You can have something good to contribute, but the way you package it may try to derail the input across. That was a legitimate point, that the police are using this situation to milk the population. And it is very unfortunate and it is very bad. And I think the powers that be, as they are said, should take note of that.
No, we have said these things. Several times for almost 1.5 years.
I found issues with his submission when he said that the entire COVID thing was mismanaged. Sure, let us not turn into poets that we're always reciting poems. When you take a chart and you see different countries and the way they have managed the COVID situation, how many infections, how many people died, you will see that Uganda is in the top 10.
Yeah, true.
Across the entire
but good you admitted.
It was all mismanaged. That is just to be
good. You have admitted that curfew outlived
me personal as Kenneth. I think it has outlived its usefulness.
My comment is specifically on education. You see, if you're a government supposed to provide goods and services to your people, why do people elect governments? Why are governments constituted is to provide goods and services to its Apollo is education. Now you cannot keep children home for 2 years. And I think the mismanagement that Mike Mabike alludes to is the question of when the lockdown happened the first time, told Ugandans that we are keeping quiet, listening, observing, and then planning for you on how to better manage the pandemic. Most certainly, internationally, we have seen trends. One time, the COVID situation is controlled, like China. Do you know the chain market in China has been disrupted for 2 consecutive years, 2020 and 2021. At first, China closed down. It was the first one to be hard hit. Then they opened up, while the rest of us were now picking the virus. The PPEs were coming in from China. The whole chain market and the chain goods and services being exported and what was affected worldwide. Right now, China is undergoing the second lockdown. It is October. China is going through a second lockdown because of high cases of COVID, a new strain of COVID. It is just coming. So you see, because of these new variances, it also became very difficult for government to predict which variant is coming, which one is not coming. So they wanted to say, okay, we are planning for you. That we understood in the first year, which was 2020. So you took us through that lockdown. Now, during that lockdown, you should have thought about our health services. They promised the beds. We didn't see them when the second wave came and people died and the beds were missing and ICUs and whatever. We saw that happening. Then it came to time for education. The schools remained closed. The big elephant in the room was the president said he didn't want children to die, and he actually made a statement. He has never seen school children dying out of pregnancy, but they have died. They could die because of COVID. Apollo. That one was one of the political statements. Remember when I told you that sometimes he makes political statements? Because school children die from pregnancy. Actually, pregnancy kills young girls more than the mature girls. Yeah, if you're 13, if you're 12, if you're 15, if you're 16, and you know about public health and maternal, me, I am a woman, now I talk as a woman, you die. That was a very unfortunate statement he made. Now, therefore, schools should have opened in 2021. We have 2 lots of people. P7s, there are 2 lots. S5s, there are 2 lots. We had COVID-X, which came here, developed by our own Ugandan, and it seemed to relieve people during that first COVID whatever episode, and then came into the second episode. Why didn't we use a bit of this COVID-X and opened our schools? What did Kenya do? Kenya decided to open their schools because they picked Johnson & Johnson, using their taxpayers' money, bought doses in big volume. They immunized these taka people. Okay, it's unfortunate that I call them that, but the first people who run the economy, border, traders, teachers, support staff, whoever willed is the one they gave the vaccine. Then they decided to swallow the bullet. And they said, we cannot kill our education system, let's open up. So they opened up. And I think that if we had utilized our COVID-X at the time of 2021, we would not be facing the crisis we are in now of having 3 classes, waiting to go to S5, 3 classes, waiting to go to S1. We have S1 and S5s in that mode, and then we have S3s who have stayed in a class for 2 years. We have P1s and P2s. You know, when we talk in Kampala, it's okay because our children are studying. People's children are in garages, people's children are on Twitter, they're on WhatsApp. Some children are getting their work, yes, through WhatsApp. Some are on Zoom. But go to Kanu, go to Bulema, in any village in Bulema, and see for me one child who has gone to school. Go to Kamuge, in Bugwere now I have crossed to Budaka, and show me which child has managed to attend class. In fact, the other day I was saying maybe I should just photocopy some of the work which my children have done, and I just go and give it out at the trading center and said, you know what, you people, you also use the same material. See how to help your children from home. But why didn't we come up with such a mechanism if we knew, okay, it has now elapsed, it has taken us too long. The president promised radios, they didn't come. They promised TVs for communities, they didn't come. So when the radios and the TVs were failing, what was the plan C, plan D, plan E to help the education system?
So Charity, you seem to say it's not only about curfew. There are other pressing issues in this country that should be addressed at this particular time.
Correct. Correct.
Malike, one comment.
Not just one comment. It's very serious. Charity is raising very serious issues. And unfortunately, Mr. Sebayunga, the NRM man, is here trying to diss them. Uganda has mismanaged the COVID crisis. Number one, Uganda failed to raise domestic resources to buy vaccines. She's talking about buy vaccines. Kenya raised domestic resources and bought Johnson & Johnson.
No, but
Uganda has largely...
The response has always been that it's not about the funds, it's about the supply chain through which...
How did Kenya do it?
You cannot go directly and buy...
How has Kenya done it? How has South Africa done it? How has Nigeria done it? How Nigeria has got more people than Uganda? How have they done it? So they procure, as far as procurement of essential vaccines are concerned, we have performed very poorly. Other countries have done better. And that is why our schools are still closed. Two, you realize there are so many people died because of lack of oxygen. So many people died because of just failure to put oxygen plants. And we raise this, and Kenneth says that, you are overstating this. This is a very serious issue. How can a country with water, 30% water, fail to raise oxygen? Because oxygen is largely a component of water. And the countries which even are landlocked, they don't even have water, have huge supplies of oxygen. Now, I want to end up with the issue of education. Education is not only a social service. Education is a very important ingredient in development and economy. It is a process by which one generation passes on knowledge to another. Now, because they have failed to manage the public health element of schools in the COVID, that is the reason we are having kids at home 2 years. But what is the most dangerous aspect of this? At the end of the day, in Uganda now, we have what we call education apartheid. She has talked about it very well. Today, the sons and daughters of the rich are all in international schools studying. The sons and daughters of the middle class who are in private schools have got access to Zoom. They're on Zoom. But the majority, the sons of the honorary majority, 90%, who go to UPE and the USE are at home without any study. Okay. Now, at the end of the day, because they have mismanaged COVID, you are having a whole generation that's now going to be denied of education. Who are the majority? My sons, yes, go to private schools, they're on Zoom, they do study. The sons of the top ones are in international schools, paying in dollars, they're studying. But the sons of the and daughters of the ordinary person are at home.
Good. The program is The Dialogue. We should go for a break. When we return, we look at the red card front. How far will it go? And good enough, we have the General Secretary, the Secretary General.
the whole powerful
the Secretary General for the People's Front for Transition. Those are issues. We'll be back. Don't worry. Welcome from the break. The program is The Dialogue. My name is Simapolo. We have the coordinator for Citizens Coalition for Electoral Democracy in Uganda, Ms. Charita Imsiwe Kalebo, and we have the Honorable Mike Mawike. He is the Secretary General for the People's Front for Transition, the Red Card Front, and he is the former MP for Makindi East. We have Kenneth Nsubuga Sebagayunga, and he is he's a lawyer and an NRM sympathizer supporter.
Actually, I'm the national chairperson of NRM Under 50. Okay,
good. It is The Dialogue, and we are looking at issues that transpired through the week. The People's Front for Transition this week laid out 23 issues, the core issues for this new political formation, the pressure group, the Red Card Front. They classified Ugandans in three categories, three classes. The first class, 1% of those who are rich, who have power, who have almost everything. The second class of Ugandans and those that are in the civil service, they are engineers, they are lawyers like Kenneth Nsubuga. They are those people in jobs, and those make 9% according to the document. For them, they say that these are comfortable. They don't care. They have the I don't care attitude. And then they also classified another 90% of Uganda's population, those that the destitutes, the poor, who are languishing in poverty, who are actually not in schools. That is the document they released this week, and they say that these 23 core issues are the ones that will drive, are the ones that make the basis of their mandate as the People's Front for Transition. Mike Mawike, Honorable, please, in just 2, 3, 5 minutes.
Thank you, thank you. You know, I am very happy to be here with Charity and Kenneth.
Speak to that document.
And I'm going to speak to the document. You know, when we were at law school, I wanted to take Kenneth into SDP, but he just slipped he slipped me and joined the NRM. I am very, very disappointed with Kenneth because we had a discussion while we were at law school. Now, we have this thing called the People's Front for Transition. This front, very, very serious front. This front, you never just sat in the street and thought about it. We took 5 months discussing amongst stakeholders, all stakeholders, NOP, DP, UPC, every stakeholder in Uganda, political stakeholder. So we decided to make a front. One, the front is for the willing.
Okay.
If you are not willing, you cannot be coerced. This front has got one objective, which the people should know. And I want to read it verbatim. The primary objective for which the front is established is to build a sustainable, all-inclusive coalition of all civil and political actors. Now, Charity, I think, is now listening very carefully. Aimed at procuring a democratic transition in Uganda.
Okay.
This is the primary objective of the front. And among others also, the front aims at improving relations, minimizing conflict, and rivalry between key political and civil actors. When I talk about political, the political parties, the society, and etc. In order to build a robust common front of all change-seeking forces in Uganda. Now, membership of the front. This is what, you know, when we sit with this NRM, now we have been making fronts. What's the difference? This is very different. Number one, why is it different? This front is non-electoral. All the fronts we have had in Uganda have been about coalitions, about elections. You know, come so that we face this together. So we have a common electoral platform. This is not a common electoral platform. This is a non-electoral platform. And secondly, what is the other difference? The other fronts and the Bisindes were exclusively for political actors. This one gets out of that mode and it expands participation. And you can look at membership. The front shall be open to all Ugandans who subscribe to its objects and agenda, and shall be in the following categories: registered political parties, academia. We already have academia on board. Civil society organizations. Today I'm taking a charity of Sendu because we are in the same boat. Shrinking political space, shrinking civil society space. I'm taking that today to the front. Trade unions and groups, diaspora formations, cultural and religious foundations, the Nkobazambogos, the Isetes, Tesidas, Rukungiri associations, all these ones on board. Student groups, eminent citizens, and other citizens formations. Actually, now the front, as of now, we have been talking amongst opposition. But now we are also now extending, we are talking to progressive NRMs. I don't know whether Kenneth is a progressive, but I don't know him as a conservative NRM, because he was never in the bush anyway. He joined the NRM here at State Square. So you cannot be conservative. So we are talking now, we have actually broadened this, and even began to extend inside the NRM, and began talking to progressives. So the front is a broad formation of all people who want change, who want to transition from this system, from this dictatorship, from this gun rule, from a system which has captured the state, into the system we have been clamoring for a long time, a purely democratic dispensation. So our front is not limited. So people have been asking, what is the difference? One is non-electoral. We are not talking about elections now. Two, this is broader than political parties. Formerly, political parties, DP come, you come. So we have now broadened it. Actually, politicians in Uganda, we don't own this change. We don't own the struggle. The struggle is owned by the people I've been talking about. When I talk about trade groups, I'm talking about market women, the boda people, the carpenters, the farmers. This is their struggle. It is not a big struggle.
Okay.
Now, the other day we outed, because we have actually been building process by process. We are taking the process by process. I can see Charity looking at me very seriously. Now, I don't want to forget about this one. I don't want to forget about this one. And if Dickens is not careful today, he will walk away with the red card. The symbol of the front is this one. The red card. The red card. You know, it comes from the concept of football. Where if you are playing badly, where if you are flouting all rules, where if you are actually not listening to the ref, you are given a red card. Now, we are saying that time out for NRM. We are saying the time out for your Captain Museveni. But this red card is not only limited to your Museveni and NRM. I don't want to give it to Sebayunga today. But this one is not limited to those people. Even for civil society, even for a market person, even for a border person. If you find a woman abusing a child, engaging in domestic relations, violence, give her a red card. You find a land grabber, somebody is displacing, give them a red card. Anything that is displeasing, this is actually just a mere symbol of protest. It is not limited to these NRM fellows, not limited only to President Museveni out, but it is all. It also includes anybody who abuses rights and who is out of order. Now, this week we outed this one, explaining the crisis. People have been asking us, okay, you're fighting, but what is this that we really must be joining you for? We have issued the crisis in Uganda today, this document. It gives the foundation of all those issues upon which Ugandans must rise and redicate the Sabayungas of this world. The way they've mismanaged this nation. And we have detailed, we have called it understanding the national crisis in which we are. And the great discontents in Uganda. And as a way of winding up, briefly, where we are now, like I said, at the end of the 36 years of rule, we have got a class system. Uganda is now segregated between three classes. First, the gunmen who captured state power, who are now living well Now, they are arrogant.
Okay.
They are obscenely wealthy. They control a lot of resources, and they are hugely protected. That's first class. That's 1%. She is not part of it. There's a second class where he is. Second class. And now the second class actually depends largely on the whims of the first class. The first class determines who comes in the first class, the second class, including now the charities, civil society, the lawyers, some of the academia, people who are trying to survive, the business community, all are trying to survive.
Maybe even you.
They are relatively comfortable. Okay, I am in and out of that one. They are relatively comfortable. They can afford. But likely they are now that class, and you can see the complacence of somebody here who was here. They are a little now bit. I don't care. Well, we are a bit. Things are okay. We can move on. And of course now the majority. The majority suffering Ugandans, living hand to mouth, unemployed, hungry, and who are really clamoring for change of the status quo. And we have detailed 22 reasons. One of which, of course, I talked about.
Okay, we may not go through them now.
Just briefly, corruption, equality of representation, the health crisis we have talked about. We have talked about the land grabbing, educational apartheid. We have really detailed it. Tax burden, state capture, impunity. Very, very important. Impunity. Very, very important.
Okay.
And many other reasons. We have detailed all this. And we are translating this in all the local.
How do you plan to, in just one minute? How do you plan to go ahead with that call for transition? I think that is one question. And another one is, actually, Ugandans have been asking, how far have you consulted the constitution, the group you've decided to move with? They actually say it is one. The same old faces in the front, on the front, and people are not so comfortable with that.
Where are you going to get new people in Uganda? Where you are not going to get any new people in Uganda? And the struggle is not limited. The struggle is like a tafari. You know this, Mr. Honorable Maiga, Prime Minister of Uganda. He had a project called the tafari. With the tafari, whether you are short, long, old, young, rich, poor, you just put the tafari. For us, this is our contribution. This is a contribution of
are you not concerned that you have the same faces?
It doesn't matter.
On the front.
Museveni took 25 years struggling for what we have now. 25 years, another 36 years. Still, same old face. Same old face. In Uganda, 36 years. What about us who have just been on the scene 10, 15 years?
But why didn't you co-opt? Why didn't you?
Take me to the issues. Take me to the issues, not about the personality. Let's discuss the crisis, not the personalities. Because the question is Uganda in a crisis? Whether Sabayunga is the one crusading or Charity or Mabike is a non-issue. The issue is a crisis. Let's talk about the crisis in Uganda. For us, we are saying there is a crisis in Uganda. The people must understand what we are fighting for. And whoever wants to join the front must understand exactly what we are fighting for.
Finally,
we have explained the crisis. I don't want to talk about Dr. Museveni. I don't want to talk about Luchamzi, Power, Lukwago, Charity, Sebayunga. I want to talk about the impunity. I want to talk about irresponsible borrowing here. I want to talk about human trafficking. This one is called export of labor. Is there a crisis?
Finally, Honorable Mabike. Finally, how do you plan to deliver that transition? Because you always indicate in your statements that you are not waiting for an election in 2026. How do you want to deliver that?
A good question, Apple. Having launched this one, where Charity has now today told me she's joining, and even Progressive Sebayunga is going to consider joining.
I can't join.
Now listen, having also next launched the crisis, understanding, having the people understand. Having launched it too. Next, we are going to announce a series of steps we are going to take to effect. So just wait. We are going to invite you.
You can give us a synopsis.
We are not going to
a sneak peek.
I'm here with another man. I may say a lot of things here, and then he goes and sits in the inner circle and subverts.
So you keep people. You will keep people in.
What we are going to do,
unaware of what your strategy is.
All of you watching, our strategy is exactly like Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. he went to the bush, and when you engage in a guerrilla war, it has one element, surprise.
So you are in the bush.
Keep your enemy and opponent surprised.
Are you planning to go to the bush?
No, that's not the case. That's not the case. But we are saying that we are not going to reveal what we're going to do tomorrow. We are just going to surprise.
Are you going on the streets?
We are not just going to surprise our opponents. I am not going to say yes or no, but I want to assure you that we are not going to, I'm not going to come here like the fellows who have been discussing about, I think they have been elsewhere. We are going to do this tomorrow. We are going to do this tomorrow. Now, when you warn your opponent that you are coming to State Square tomorrow, you think he's going to fold his hands and
okay. Thank you so much, Honorable. Kenneth, you have your time now.
You see, Uganda has one problem. The political actors like a lot of sloganeering. Actually, may I call them poem reciters. They cite the same poem this year, they cite the same poem the next year, and they think Ugandan is down there, have not really come up with their games. Now, the front. We have just had elections in 2021. Elections by their very nature are put there for you to go and explain to the masses your manifesto. If they buy what you are selling, they give you votes. 2021, FDC brought a candidate to an election. I don't think he even got 1%.
A Bradley election?
No, I don't think he got 1%.
Was that an election?
Let me finish. You had your chance. Nope brought a candidate to an election. He got 30-something%. DP had a candidate in an election. 00 point, I don't know what he got. So NRM won the election. A few months after that election, you coming and you are saying we have brought the ready card, we want Museveni to go. But you had the opportunity to show him the ready card during the election. The result of the election, NRM has over 450 MPs.
336.
We have about 70 independents.
There's 74 independent.
They are all NRM.
No, they are leaning. Let's leave them as independent.
We invite them to Chankwanzi. You know, it is potato is the same.
Okay.
If we invite them to Chankwanzi, they went through our primary.
But for us, we know them as independent.
So then you have about 9 DP members.
DP 9.
9, the entire country 9. Then FDC has about 20.
32.
No.
32. Then NUP 50.
57.
57. So when you when I do a total of all MPs for the opposition in Uganda, I don't think they clock 100. Do they?
They
do.
They do.
They do.
They do?
Yes.
100 what?
They're just 101.
101 compared
But
to 400 plus.
529
Now,
MPs.
that is the litmus test. That is the balance sheet that the Ugandans have returned after an election. Now you are bringing a ready card. You are saying a Museveni out. The only person in Uganda who has the capacity to give NRM and Museveni a ready card is the population, the voters. They went to the ballot, they brought the yellow card out, not the ready card.
They are the same voters that these people are talking to now.
Exactly. Now, this is not the place. Okay. And this is not the time. Elections in Uganda will come back in 2026. Now, when they say they are not waiting for these elections, it takes me back to what I'm telling you. Sloganeering. To Varemese.
This is Twitter-se.
Twitter-se. Now they are saying Twitter-se. The other day they were saying to Varemese. The other day Tajia Kulaira. The other day Bikwase Gundi. Then somebody said Bikwase Nze. Then after we go back to the Mbatiza, Mudeyo Mukoti Yabantu. So this is all the same thing. But behind Ugandans down there have now come up to the games they know. People really want political relevance. When somebody has been off the scene, wants to come back on the scene, then he has to come back with a stunt, with front and what have you too. Me, I would be shocked and I would be worried by this front if at its unveiling I saw some faces I have never seen not voting Museveni or NRM. You know, this point I've always told you, Mumami Apollo, and I've always told my opposition friends, politics is about numbers. If you are 4 today and you want to make a step, you have to be 8 tomorrow. You can't remain 4 and change colors and think you are doing anything. I was telling my new friends when we were in the generations, I told them, which new people have you got from NRM? Because you are saying now you are different from FDC, you are different from DP. How many people have crossed from NRM to NUP? Because when I see Mwanga Chivumbi, he was DP. He was in green, he has just turned red. When I see Namboze, she was green, she's just turning red. When I see Semuju, this one of Chengera, Kari Amagbo, he was this, so it is just turning colors. Now, when I see the front, I see Honorable Mubabike, he says he's SDP.
Yeah.
He was DP before, then he came to SDP, now he's saying front, red. You see Kanobe CJ, he was DP, I mean he was FDC, that is blue.
It was the National Political Commission.
But he's blue, now he has red. When I see Ruchamuzi, the Conservative Party, or when I see Mokaku, all these people I'm seeing are the same players who have been around, and none of them has been voting Museveni. So if I'm drawing a chart and I see who has now moved from NRM or who is now moving from Museveni to the front, I see zero. Are you getting my point? So it is the same old wine that is being recycled. That's what I told you. It is the same song and dance that for us NRM have gotten used to. Now it is the front. Tomorrow it will be TDA. The other day
Kenneth, what changes, I think, may not be the faces, but the issues they are raising.
The issues they are
raising. And they varied. When they talk about impunity, when you talk about mismanagement in government entities, don't you pick a point and probably give them that benefit of doubt?
No, the issues they are raising might be valid, but the way they are raising them is not proper. Because the Constitution has provided a framework once the government is elected, and then there is an opposition in Uganda. Constitutionally, the opposition has its leadership in the parliament. They have a lead of opposition.
Yeah, true.
I'm sure told they even have a shadow cabinet. I'm told it is even constitutionally facilitated by government. So if they have issues, let them channel them through the correct forum. Let me finish.
Why didn't Museveni channel grievances?
Let me finish. I'm told they even have a platform for all political parties in Uganda that are represented in parliament, being sponsored by the civil society.
There is iPod and there is a National Consultative Forum.
If they have issues, take them to iPod, take them to parliament, take them to these constitutionally established. They are the ones saying institutions are not working, but they are the ones going outside the institutions to bring out their views. So I don't understand. But
finally,
one more important thing I want to talk about. They are calling themselves the
People's Front for Transition.
The word transition seems alien.
Why?
But it is not. Because for us as NRM, we understand what a transition means. I've told you I'm the national chairperson of NRM under 50. We know that our general, President Yoweri Kaguta.
Is that another pressure group?
I'll tell you. You call me one time, then I'll give you.
No, we should know because we don't want this Chipatira party.
Hold on. We know that our general, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, is not immortal. He himself recently told you, I want to be president at 100 years. So as NRM, we know that within today and the next 10 years, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni won't be here anymore. So we who are below 50 in NRM are already talking about this transition. We are already organizing. We are already meeting. We are already discussing. And I want to promise you, Ugandans, after Museveni, NRM will bring a candidate who will be the next president of this country.
Good. Thank you so much,
Kenneth. We know this transition. We are talking about it. I don't know why the front is jumping the gun. They are not the ones in the government.
So, Charity, thank you so much, Kenneth. Charity, you are key stakeholders in this game of democracy. You play a big role as civil society, and you must be concerned of what is happening on the political spectrum of this country at this point. The People's Front for Transition has emerged. Some people look at it as one that has come up at a wrong time, like Kenneth said, that this shouldn't be the time for such a pressure groups coming up. We have emerged from an election. We have a government that is still forming. Start from there and give us your opinion.
I am happy over the comments Kenneth finally made. One, that even the NRM, which has been dominating the electoral space since 1996 to 2021, is considering the question of transition. which is what the People's Front for Transition is struggling with. Every time we celebrate Independence Day, people say, but why don't we discuss this big elephant in the room? This transition here. And every time transition has been produced, it gets a lot of resistance. There are those who said you've jumped the queue. He has even used, he has alluded to the term even now again, they jumped the queue, those who are planning against the queue and for the queue. Now the question of transition is a Ugandan question. It's not an NRM question alone. It's not a Mabike question alone. It is a question for the people of Uganda. That if you choose to discuss that question of transition, we go back to the constitution and we go back to what the people of Uganda want for their leadership. Because transition is a moving from one place to another place. And it therefore is a moving from NRM. If it is into NRM, then we know. If it is into the movement system, then we know. If it is into political parties, then we know. But the citizens of the nation must be involved in that transition, in the question of transition. And that is why civil society propped for the question of national dialogue. National dialogue was meant to allow for Ugandans across the political divide to discuss the question of transition. That did not happen because of, again, the questions of coalition, mistrust, trust, and technicalities. When the president suggested let the money come from finance, the Minister of Finance, to fund the national dialogue process, the other actors felt he's now going to dictate everything he wants on us. Now, the proponents of the national dialogue process had suggested we have an open virtual space where everybody feels part of the platform, an inclusive space. That if I am from NRM, and for which, for me, transition now has a problem here, the People's Front for Transition has not yet brought in NRM on board, has not yet brought in UPC, has not yet, because UPC also has representation in parliament. They have 9. They have not yet brought in NOP, who are 57.
Are they 9? They are around 6.
No, UPC they are 9.
Okay.
DP they are 9.
Okay.
Even UPC they are 9. JEMA is 1.
Yeah.
But JEMA is already here.
Yeah.
It has niched a space. But the other people are not yet there. So I had expected that the transition was also going to focus on the 74. The ones whom you hear. Kenneth is very proud to say, those ones, they pretend here potato. They are actually potatoes. Because he's saying they came out of NRM. But what took them out? They were disgruntled during the NRM primaries because the process was poorly handled in that election of NRM primaries. Now, if I was the People's Front for Transition and I'm actually interested in a national agenda
For transition.
then my first point of call will be to reach out to these separate forces and tell them, people, we need to have a conversation on this issue that is going to affect.
In his preamble, he stated that it took them 6 months
to consult. And I want to come back to you that I will tell you some of the FDC supporters who told me they were consulted 2 days before the transition was launched.
Really?
I would name, but he was on public TV. Professor Ogenga Latigo told me they went to his home 2 days before they launched. And he told them, give me time to think. By the time it was Wednesday, Thursday, they were launching. They told him, are you coming? He said, I'm not coming yet. And this is a man who was a leader of opposition and sat in FDC for a long time. And he's a good brain. Now, you see, if you want a buy-in, a national buy-in, there must be a give and a take. These things are very painful, by the way. In leadership, very, very painful. And leaders who do not exude high levels of tolerance really do not fly high with the public, usually. You must be able to expose that, put it out, show it to the people that I am a tolerant person, I am an understanding person. And that is why the proposers of the national dialogue, for them they had said, let's have eminent persons, whom he states here. Let the eminent persons be the ones to lead the dialogue. And at that time, it was the Interreligious Council of Uganda, who are taking the mantle. Why Interreligious Council of Uganda? Because every Ugandan has a religion to which they subscribe. And so seeing their religious leader there was like a call, a place where they could coalesce. Now, these interreligious leaders were then supposed to work with the eminent persons who we referred to. We had Justice Ogola, we had many retired people who were there. Margaret, what is her name from Chigozi from Uganda Investment Authority. These were the people who were there, and many others. And it was, they tried to balance it even regionally. There was a lady from Acholi. There was a lady from
Henry Chamber.
There was even Henry Chamber. They tried to balance it, that these people would be the voices for the various regions. Now, these eminent persons were supposed to lead the dialogues according to the districts.
Okay.
So, what we have had Mabike today present is not a bad idea. Okay. It is true we have issues in Uganda.
But not a crisis. Crisis is a big word.
He has presented key governance issues. And he has said, except we resolve the governance question, every other issue will keep revolving. And I want to agree with him on that one. That the question of governance is a very critical question, that unless it is resolved, the health problems will continue. The education problems will continue. The corruption problems will continue. However, there is no one size fits all, okay, in responding to the governance question. Not only in Uganda, but even when you look at it internationally or even regionally. What the Kenyans did for themselves was to go through what they called a constitutional review process for 10 years. Now, I have said this before and I can say it again, and then Mabike is going to be annoyed. Even if you took away President Museveni and replaced someone else who you want and you put them there as the president of this country right now, I don't think you would fix the problems of Uganda instantly. It is not the silver bullet. So the problem of Uganda might not be President Museveni per se. It might be the people themselves. It could be our ideology, our ideals, and our belief systems.
Are you suggesting that the issue should not be transition?
No, I said transition is an issue, but it needs to be managed by Ugandans because it is a Ugandan issue. The constitution says power belongs to who? To the people. And that this constitution of government, which he talked about, the election we came from, we constituted a government. It was constituted by Ugandans through an election. That is why those elections are conducted. So everything you constituted, whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it, it was constituted by those Ugandans. So for you to unconstitute it, go back to them.
Okay. So in just one statement,
yes,
how far do you see this transition going?
The People's Front for Transition, like he's saying, it now needs to spread out and open out to more Ugandans. They need to reach out to NRM whether they want them or they don't want them, because they are political actors and key political actors. They must reach out to the 74 independents. Civil society, they've opened up for them, fine. They've opened for individuals. But they should also structure their message in such a way that it is Ugandan, not the deficits that have necessarily existed. Because we said, when we came from the 2016 election, we saw the people's government.
Yeah.
What did it deliver to the Ugandans? They came out, they said no.
That was Tubalemese.
They said
under Tubalemese's slogan.
Yes, but Tubalemese, what did it deliver? Before 2021, what did Tubalemese deliver? Because you must also do an audit.
I think they had the whistles every day.
All right. Thank you so much, Charity.
Yes.
We have only like 10 minutes and we must share these few minutes.
Yes.
Mike,
we need to
now the big question.
We should have debated on the transition.
The big question is,
because these two people.
the big question goes back to you.
We can always come back.
The big question goes. Mike, Honorable Mike, the big question goes back to you.
Yes.
Did you take time to think through your strategy, to think through and understand the key components of this transition.
Yes, let me just,
The people who matter.
let me just
Wait a minute. There is one issue that you must address also. We don't even see members of the opposition in that transition agenda.
Very good. Very good. Every process has got a starting point. People's Front for Transition is a building block of a big house. Charlie has been talking about the process which failed. Those things don't work. Religious leaders came and then they began receiving pajeros.
You don't believe
They
in...
abandoned. Don't take us there. Don't take us ever back, Charity, there. Don't take us there.
So you don't need religious...
national dialogue.
You don't need...
Don't take us back to national dialogue. They even went besieging to President Museveni, now please fund. These are our ideas, but fund the process of taking you out of power. That is the process Charity wants us to subscribe to.
So you don't even believe in working with the NRM?
We have kick-started a process for political actors. Every political actor was consulted. They are still, and they all agree they were consulted, but they're still taking their time to decide at what stage they are going to join. Ours is not the final. It is not a final. This is just a building block. We are starting now. One thing you should know is that we are extensively discussing with the fellows inside
NRM.
the progress. I told you right from the word go. We are also going to get into a process of public engagements now of all stakeholders. We are going to go back to our friends in Intelligence Council. Shall miss them. We are going to go to some key civil society groups which are not yet involved. But one thing which is for sure, when Kenneth says that you are jumping the queue, I think he does it very wrong.
No, he
You
never
said you jumped the gun.
We have jumped the gun. We are the ones to kickstart this. First of all, the election both are talking about is a contested election. Uganda is the only country that organized a scientific election. It has never been anywhere. And I'm surprised that you, Charity, who is even part of SEDU, do not know this. South Korea organized an election around the same period. Malawi organized an election around the same period. Tanzania, the late Magufuli, organized an election around the same time.
Even
Burundi organized an election around the same time. USA organized an election around the same time. None was scientific.
But let me give you information.
You are SEDU. You are supposed to be giving us information.
Singapore had a scientific election.
No.
My dear, they did.
No.
So your point has been made. Go right ahead.
The way the election was organized, the limitation of that election gave a disputed result. And I am surprised that you can even refer to that election.
That's why you think of a transition.
So, we don't actually count that election. Because in all over the world we have never had, even America, which has been badly hit, never had a scientific election. Trump made Larry's. Magufuli made Larry's. Nkurunziza made Larry's. Chakwera, is it the Malawian man? Made Larry's. How do you even, if you are SEDU, how do you even consider that by all global standards, the election organized in Uganda was credible and free and fair?
No, we didn't say it was credible, free and fair. Mabika, why we are closed? The reason why SEDU is closed is because we said the election was not free and fair. That's the reason why SEDU is closed right now.
An election is not free and fair.
That's why they closed SEDU. That's why they closed SEDU.
It is now my time.
They closed SEDU because we said it was not free and fair. At least let the public remember that.
Telling us that the election was not credible, it was not free and fair.
Yes.
The matter was closed by Ugandans. She has made a statement here. We can replay it. So by that statement alone, it means that you don't even mean what you say in your reports.
We mean what we say.
I can tell you, SEDU, I think you also need to go through a process of training and retraining and reorientation. I can tell you that we do not believe in that result. We dispute that election. It was not credible, it was not free and fair, And that matter of 2021 has not been settled.
That's why they closed SEDU, Honorable. They closed SEDU because of 2021.
Let's go back to the gist of the matter.
Yes.
That's why SEDU is closed.
You admit, can you admit, Honorable, can you admit, Charity, can you admit that you really need everyone?
Yes, I want to say,
you
and
need,
I want to agree.
You need even the opposition. You need even the NRM.
As I told you, this platform is not the end in itself. It is only a vehicle to the end. Ultimately, in this vehicle, everybody will have to come, including President Museveni, because the nation needs transition. We, as a country, have never had a peaceful transfer of power from one different president to another president. Okay. This is a question for debate in Uganda. And I want to say that we are not enough, but we have begun the debate.
Okay.
It is a process.
So,
and in the coming days, you are going to see, we are going to out, first of all, the real agenda.
Okay.
We have not yet outed the agenda. We have not outed what we're going to do. In the coming days, we are going to out this. We are going to tell the public what we're going to do. And you are going to see us engaged in widespread and very, very deep consultations, with including Kenneth Sawagayunga, the chairman of
before you engage Kenneth,
and Sister Charity.
Before you engage Kenneth, people think that you should at least have Robert Chagulanyi on that platform.
No,
have members of parliament
that is wrong also.
Of NUP on that platform.
Struggle in Uganda.
NUP.
Yes, in Uganda.
No, it is
Why not?
No one.
Why not?
Listen.
One statement.
I must answer.
One statement.
You have said that
you need Chagulanyi on that platform.
We cannot wait for anybody. And we don't need anybody's permission.
You don't need Chagulanyi on that
platform. No, we don't need anybody's permission to debate position. We don't need Mr. Museveni's permission. We don't need Chagulanyi's permission to debate transition. Let me tell you this, and this is where I'm going to end. When there was a crisis in 1980, Ugandans debated how they would rid themselves of a government that had captured power through illicit means. Samogere and the DP opted to join Obote in parliament.
After the election.
After the election, they opted to join Obote. The Museveni said, well, we don't think that that's the right path. We are going to go and mobilize the people until we will. In 5 years down the road, the Musevenis were victors. So, they did not seek Samogere's permission, who had actually won that election. So for you to come and tell me that we must now seek permission from Chagulanyi and wait for Chagulanyi, so that we resolve this crisis, I think you are being out of order.
Okay.
That is something that that's an issue we cannot.
I think Kenneth, we don't have 7 minutes.
The question was,
2 minutes.
What mileage do we see that this front can get? I think that was the question.
Yeah. How far can this transition go?
That was the question, and that's the question I want to answer. First and foremost, there is a word in Uganda that I always laugh at. They call it struggle. I always ask them to define what struggle means. Nobody has given me.
Even the 5 years of NRM in the bush was about struggle.
For them, they are saying struggle.
Okay.
What you see in Uganda today, and I want to tell all the viewers, is that there is a struggle for the struggle.
No.
Let me say that again.
I think you are listening.
In Uganda here, we have NUP with their 58 MPs and their power base in Kamochi, saying we are the ones for the struggle. The Mabikwes are being squeezed out with the Vesi and all of the other route. They are also coming. We are now the front for the transition.
So there is a struggle.
I am giving you a red card for misrepresenting.
So let me finish. The people's government.
There is a struggle for a struggle.
The people's government failed to squeeze it out the relevance of politics in Uganda. Now they are also coming with we have a front for transition. So the front for transition and the NUP are in a struggle for the struggle.
That's not correct.
Now, for us in NRM,
That's not correct.
we are, I'll use Uganda
Yeah, as you
to
wind
explain
up.
this.
Of course, that's not right.
Let him wind up. Let him wind up.
I'll use Uganda to explain this. Ensenene bwe ziba nga zonna ziri mu ccupa naye nga zonna zirwana okuvaayo okudda waggulu gwakutta eccupa ayagala okuzirya obeera happy because ejja waggulu gy'olya. As NRM we are happy, we are just waiting for them ajjayo omutwe gwe tukuba. Let me finish.
We have to conclude.
Now, then he says, you know, when you start something, when you start something, there are a lot of contradictions and fallacies around. It can't go any far to answer your question.
Suspicion.
You say, we consulted everybody. Everybody is in the front. NUP comes and says we are not. DP comes and says we are not.
Yeah.
UPC says we are not. ANT says we are not. PPP says we are not. And these are the political actors who are members of parliament in the Ugandan legislature. Then for you, front has Ruchamuzi, has Vesige, has Mabike, has Mukaku, has Wells.
Where is it going?
Those are the major ones.
I think it is dead at its inception.
Okay.
But for us as
Mukaku is a good man.
Excuse me.
Wait a minute.
I can, no. I want to correct this. Let me, Kenneth, allow me to correct this. Because
To what?
you are misrepresenting.
What?
This is the message.
Let him make a
This is the
correction.
message
To Ugandans.
Mr. Chagulani sent to Dr. Besige on the day of the launch. I can read
Is it private or it was public?
Public.
It is public message.
How come we've never
I
seen
can
it?
read it. Because you are saying that I was
Okay.
not consulted. Let me read it. Good evening, doctor. It was great meeting with you on Saturday. I have been reflecting on the chat we had and the steps we ought to take swiftly to put an end to the madness. I am particularly concerned about the situation in Masaka. Perhaps in a few days, we can have a chat so that I can pick your thoughts on what might be going on and how we can address it. Regarding the Wednesday meeting, the launch, I spoke to several of our leaders and most of them have a feeling that it's a bit abrupt. They didn't seem to appreciate the intended actions and how different they would be from the previous attempts. I realize the need to engage at an appropriate time so that we all are on the same page. Like I said, I have traveled out today. Perhaps when I return, we can have an engagement aimed at...
And you didn't wait for that engagement. We are running out of time.
For now, kindly proceed with the entities which are already on board.
Good. 1 minute we go.
I think what Mike Mabike didn't understand from my argument was that transition is a question for Ugandans, and that the country is built on Ugandans. Unfortunately, many times it looks like the ones who are holding the power in trust for them use that power and forget about the real people who own the power. But if indeed the people's transition, the People's Front for Transition is for Ugandans, then it needs everyone on board. And it must work with everybody.
Good. Viewers, the program, The Dialogue, is winding up. My name is Simapolo. I must thank my guests. Charity Ahimbisibwe Kalebo, the coordinator for Citizens Coalition for Electoral Democracy in Uganda. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Apollo.
Honorable
And
Mike
thank
Mabike.
you for using the name Kalebo.
Mike Mabike, Honorable, the former Member of Parliament for Martin East and the Secretary General for the Red Card Front. Thank you for coming to the show.
It's always a pleasure.
Kenneth Sebayunga, that name confused me.
Sebagayunga.
Sebagayunga, very satisfied fat cat.
Yeah, that's
Kenneth
what
Sebuga,
it
thank you so
means.
much for your time.
Always a pleasure. Would want to have more engagements with the, you know, Mabike was
But you received the red card.
used to be very good.
Viewers, our time is up.
We'll
We'll be back next week. The program Dialogue is going out. You can follow us on our social media sites. You go to Sol TV Uganda on Twitter, Sol TV Uganda on Facebook, and elsewhere. You get and YouTube. You get these discussions, recorded discussions. My name is Apollo. Good afternoon and a splendid weekend.